Okay, in your letter, you told me to respond to you, and you're going to get a typical response. Every time you send me a letter, I'm going to respond to you. Here's my response. This is my yard. I did a lot of work in this yard in the last few weeks to get things the way I want them, not the way you want them. This truck right here has been here for about 1.5 years, hasn't been moved. It's got a flat tire half the time. It's a permanent fixture in the neighborhood. It spends all its time there. Chuck and Wayne drive by this every day, and it doesn't bother them, okay? To me, all it does is it cheapens the neighborhood. Anybody that's been here for a while goes, what's that? Oh, this is something else. This is another thing that I feel is an eyesore in the neighborhood and devalues our property values. This is refuse right here. Somebody tore this out of the ground. I'll stay out here on the sidewalk a few weeks ago, and there it is. A few weeks ago, a month ago, it's been sitting there for a while. Look at that plant, it's dying over there. Wayne Blair lives down there. Chuck Milosevic parks his truck on that corner about once a day. They both drive by this every day, and it's still here. They don't consider this offensive. They don't consider this devaluing the property. But when you come over here, about 90 feet, we're going to walk over to my yard, which I don't think looks that bad. But in response, let me tell you one thing. I can tell you this in confidence. Everything that you see here, except for the plants and that palm tree, can be moved. So, why don't you do a survey in the neighborhood, or get together with your architectural committee, or at least give me the courtesy of coming over here and telling me, item per item, what offends you. Whatever offends you and you figure is out of taste with what you're looking at here, all right? Whatever you're looking at and you figure is out of taste, you let me know. At least give me the courtesy. Don't send me pictures where I got to log on to some website. How impersonal. For some reason, Chuck has a problem. Chuck or Wayne brought to your attention all the work I've been doing here. I tried to dress this up. And let me remind you what you told me in a letter when I was applying for my gutters. You told me in a letter when I explained to you that my house, that house you're looking at, that's lot 316. That house is out of compliance. It's out of code. Its sewer pipes are out of code. Do you understand the geometry that produces the pitch, the head pressure to push the sewage to the street was compromised when they got some bureaucrat down in Buckeye to sign a permit that should never gotten signed. They went in with a permit and they requested lowering the finished floor elevation on this house. And it's been lowered 3 inches. So that means the sewer pipes and the angle of inclination from the sewer, and the sewer pipes run all the way to the back of the house. So that's probably about a 90 foot trip to the street here in the sewer. And I have to tell a buyer, the first thing I have to tell the buyer is that the sewer pipes are non-code. The builder, Meritage, went in and purposely had them lower the finished floor elevation from code. On the front page of the grading map, on the front page, what they call the cover page, or the declarations of the map, on the map it says no finished floor elevation will be lowered below the stated elevation on the map. Well, the stated elevation on the grading map, the master grading map, said that this floor elevation is supposed to be 3 inches higher than it is, and it isn't. And I have to try to sell the house. If I go try to get a loan, I own the house, I own it cash. If I go to a bank, you think the bank will give me the price or the value of the house, what the value should be if I tell them that the sewer pipes are out of code? And nobody in downtown Buckeye will talk to me. Every time I go into the town hall in Buckeye and I go up to the second level where Public Works is, and I ask to speak to either Phil Marcotte or Scott Zipperich. I ask for their name, they say, who's here? Who wants to talk to them? I say, Seward Lacham. They come out and they go, they're tied up all day, they can't talk to you. Nobody will talk to me about this. I am going to go to a lawyer, and I'm going to have a lawyer send a letter clarifying the situation with this finished floor elevation. Somebody is going to admit we shouldn't have signed the permit. Now, what I'm inviting you out to do is whatever you don't like, whatever you see here that offends you that much and offends my neighbors, maybe you can get Craig Hustitz to do one of his famous surveys. Go out and talk to everybody in the neighborhood. Find out what the neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood doesn't like about my setup. And then come out. Give me the courtesy. I've given you about $30,000 over 12 years, 10 or 12 years in dues. I don't use your facility at all. I don't go in and have anything to do with it. Why? Because I'm being watched. Every move I make in this community gets a response from somebody. Why would I ever want to go and hang out at your adult center when all your adult center is a tool of management? It's a way to disseminate false information. You destroy characters. When I go into a meeting and I stand up and I've got 40 people all screaming at me, why don't you sell your house and get out of here? And none of them know me, never talked to me, never met me face to face. Where did they get all these ideas? How can you have a force of that many people not wanting me to even be living here? You know why? Because I don't show up and try to make friends with anybody. I was here 3 weeks, and within 3 weeks of closing all 3 houses here, I had a letter in my file. And the realtor, Tim Pontus, when I closed these two houses right here were closed on October 13th, 2004. A month and a half earlier, I closed that one. When I closed these last 2, Tim Pontus told me personally, he goes, what you did will never happen again here. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you bought 3 of the best lots on the course. You tied up 3 of the best properties on the course. It didn't go unnoticed. There's a lot of resentment over here. They've changed all the rules. The sales offices has gone through and they've rewritten the book. So there's a lot of contempt and a lot of bad feelings that you bought these 3 houses and tied up these 3 of the best lots on the course. And then 3 weeks later, after spending a week here, I took 2 weeks off, went back to San Francisco, came here for a week. And that week it was like get furniture. It was do this, do that, trying to get the house up and running. One house. I had a lot of visitors. You know why I had visitors? Because the sales office didn't have this particular model. They were sending people over to my house. Tim and the people who were working in the sales office, if somebody was interested in the smallest 1,000 square foot, they didn't have a model for it. So they would go, Seward's over there, we can see him on the patio. Why don't you go over and see if he'll let you go through his house? And that's what happened. And I had several opportunities to sell these houses during that week. Well, anyway, I was here a week. My nephew from New York, who wanted to go to UTI Technical Institute, came out. He wanted to tour the campus. He was a senior in high school. He took a week off from high school. He came out. He helped me install the microwave. He helped me with furniture. He helped me do a lot of stuff in the house. Plus, he had a vacation, and we went and toured the campus of UTI. He has since graduated with honors from UTI. Well, while he was here and I was taking a shower one day, the head of the men's golf club, whoever that was, in 2004, fall of 2004, November, October 2004, whoever represented the men's club came over to invite me to join the club. I was taking a shower. So the young man answered the door. Behind the young man in the living room was two futons. Two futons. Those two futons were the first item of furniture I bought about 2 weeks early down here on a 2-day trip. I came down, bought two futons because I knew I had to buy furniture. So whoever was this representative was looking over this kid's shoulders, seeing the two futons in the middle of the living room, and assumed that I had a bunch of kids living in the house. So he went back, told Star Ballou that I had 3 kids living in the house. This was in November of 2004. I called up Star about a week later for some business. I don't know what it was. I had some business with the HOA. I called her up. She told me to hold on to the phone. So I waited while she came back. She goes, "We have to discuss something." I go, "What?" She goes, "You had 3 kids living at your house. We had to put a letter in your file." Oh, okay. So that's how I started out. I bought 3 houses from Meritage. The realtor told me how unpopular it was with the sales office and everybody else that was here. And 3 weeks later, I got a letter in my file. I had one kid who was a relative, 17 years old, with me for about 5 days here. And I get a letter generated for violating the CC&Rs. And I've had nothing but letters and violation letters. I probably got more violations in my file than anybody that's been here. Another thing that I break a record, not only violations, but I break a record in dues. Tell me any individual member who has paid more dues than I have. Every check I personally write. It doesn't come out of a check, out of an account. I have to sit down every 3 months and write out nearly $700, $600 in checks. All right? That's $100 a month per house for the HOA. And I don't use the adult center. Check your computer log, how many times I go in and out of your door. How many times my card logs in. I do not use it. Why would I use something where I'm being watched, scrutinized, measured all the time? A hen house, that's all it is. Now, again, now that I'll settle down, I'm going to say one more time. I'm not going to look at your pictures. I know what my house looks like. I know what it's got. I'm not going to play your little stupid games and logging on to some website to see a picture of my house when I know what my house looks like. You take the pictures. They're for you. Take them, scrutinize them, pick them apart, dissect them, put them all back together. Come out here. Tell me what's wrong. At least give me the courtesy like you did before of coming. And when you come out, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked you before. Cindy, Cynthia, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you before, and you've already put in about a month or 2 months ago when you sent out the rules. You specifically said garage doors have to match the house. There you go. This is the end of my little statement to you. All right?